Welcome to the Mixed Media Ventures podcast, your go-to for smart, actionable digital marketing strategies to grow, scale, and win in today's online economy. Join us now for our latest episode.
Okay, so picture this. You've poured your heart, your soul, maybe even a decent chunk of your budget into creating these really stunning videos. Maybe it's for your business, could be a personal project, doesn't matter. You've invested the time, the creativity, the visuals look slick, the message feels clear, and honestly, you're really proud of the final product. But then, you hit publish, you wait a few days, check the analytics, and it's crickets.
Yeah, silence.
Or even worse, you see people are watching, but only for like 5-10 seconds, and then poof, they're gone. No clicks, no signups, no action at all. It's just, it's so disheartening, isn't it? All that effort, and it just doesn't seem to connect or deliver the results you were hoping for. And you're left just scratching your head thinking, what went wrong here?
Oh, absolutely. That story is painfully common. It's something we hear about constantly, and it's deeply frustrating for creators and businesses. Our sources today, they really highlight how widespread this is. They mention that around 70% of clients who approach a firm like Mixed Media Ventures, and these guys specialize in video conversion optimization. They come in with exactly that frustration.
Percent? Wow.
Yeah, it's huge. And it's important to understand this isn't usually a reflection of like a lack of talent or effort in making the video look good. Instead, it really points to this fundamental disconnect.
A disconnect between what?
Between the creative act, making a video that's visually appealing and polished, and the ultimate goal, which is usually commercial, getting conversions, driving engagement, achieving some kind of tangible return on investment. It's not just about having a pretty video anymore. It's about crafting a video that actually works in this, incredibly noisy digital landscape we're all operating in.
Okay, that 70% figure, that's a real wake-up call. It tells me straight away this isn't just, a few people having bad luck. It's systemic. So let's unpack this. Our sources today, and we're drawing particularly from a really insightful analysis called The 10-Second Fix for Video Conversions by Jack Bry. They explore precisely why even really well-produced, expensive videos can fail so spectacularly at delivering that ROI. It's a real eye-opener, honestly, because it pinpoints exactly where that battle for viewer attention and ultimately for conversion is being won or, more often, lost. So our mission for this deep dive is to pull out those critical nuggets of knowledge, those actionable insights, so that you, listening right now, can start transforming your own video performance. And the really surprising part, it often starts with what feels like a remarkably simple fix rather than needing to, tear everything down and start over.
Right, not a total overhaul.
Exactly. We want to explore not just what the problem is, but dig into the why, the psychology behind it, and most importantly, the how. How you can actually turn things around for your content.
Precisely. And this deep dive, it isn't about blaming the creator or saying the video itself is inherently bad. It's really about understanding the underlying psychology, the behavioral patterns of today's digital audiences. Because let's face it, those patterns have shifted dramatically.
Oh, completely.
How people consume content now versus even 5-10 years ago, it's night and day. So once we really grasp how people actually watch, how they decide what's worth their time in this hyper-stimulated environment, then we can adjust our strategies. We can meet them where they actually are. It's about being smarter with your existing video assets, not necessarily just working harder or spending more money.
Okay, here's where the data gets really interesting and maybe a little bit sobering, honestly. Our sources deliver this critical reality check about viewer attention spans. Brace yourself. The average viewer, statistically, decides whether they're going to continue watching your video within the first, 10 seconds.
10 seconds. Just think about that.
It's almost nothing. It's less time than it takes to, read a paragraph.
Or make a cup of tea.
Right. And yet, that is the entire tiny, fleeting window you have to prove your video's worth, to justify why they clicked in the first place and convince them to stay. It's brutal.
And it gets even more concerning when you look closer at the drop-off rates. Most marketing videos, and this is regardless of how slick they look or how valuable the information might actually be later on, they lose nearly 45% of their audience before they even hit the 15-second mark.
Wow, almost half are gone by 15 seconds.
Almost half. And that statistic alone, it just highlights this critical and often really costly oversight in how people traditionally approach video marketing. So many businesses, even really sophisticated ones, they unfortunately focus the bulk of their creative energy, their budget, their strategic thinking on the middle and the end of the video.
Right, the main content, the big reveal.
Exactly. The elaborate explanations, the detailed feature lists, the compelling narrative arcs, stuff that, frankly, the vast majority of their audience is never even going to see. It's just a fundamental misallocation of effort when you realize just how quickly that attention evaporates online.
There's this incredibly potent analogy that Melissa Chen, who's a well-known video marketing strategist mentioned in our sources, uses. And she puts it, well, quite bluntly. She says, the greatest video content in the world is worthless if no one sticks around to watch it.
Makes sense.
Yeah, and she likens it to spending all your time meticulously polishing the back of a painting, making it absolutely perfect back there. But only the front is ever going to be displayed.
Good analogy.
So you've got this incredible, valuable message, this masterpiece on the front. But if no one even bothers to look because the initial impression wasn't compelling, all that work on the back, all that valuable content you spent ages creating, it's just lost potential. The battle for conversion, she argues, and the data seems to back this up, is overwhelmingly won or lost right there in those opening seconds. So, okay, if we accept this kind of brutal truth about attention spans, what does it really mean for us? For the people trying to make videos that connect?
Well, it points to an issue that isn't necessarily about the intrinsic quality of the video itself. It's not that your video is bad. It's more about a really profound shift in, well, human psychology and our digital behavior patterns.
It's how we consume things now.
Exactly. We're living in this age of just overwhelming content, infinite choices, constant scrolling. We've all done it. And viewers, all of us really, have become incredibly skilled at making these instantaneous, almost subconscious judgments about relevance and value.
Like a filter.
Precisely. A highly efficient mental filter. Our model for consuming content has evolved. We just don't have the patience we might have had, say, a decade ago. So understanding these ingrained patterns, this instant filtering mechanism we all use, that's absolutely key if you want to craft a strategic response that actually earns and then holds attention. Connecting this to the bigger picture, it really means we have to fundamentally reevaluate where we put our creative energy and our strategic focus. Our audience's attention isn't something they just give freely anymore. It's not a given. It has to be earned, it has to be validated, and it has to be re-earned critically, very quickly.
Okay, so if that's the core problem, this incredibly rapid early audience drop-off, what are the specific identifiable reasons why our videos are failing to convert? Our sources outlined 5 really common yet often kind of overlooked pitfalls that cause videos to underperform time and time again.
Yeah, let's dive into those. And these aren't just like speculative theories. These are patterns that have been rigorously observed and actually quantified across countless underperforming videos. They really highlight the common blind spots.
Okay, first up on the list, the personalization gap. Now that sounds a bit technical, maybe a bit jargony, but from what I understand, it's actually incredibly human at its core. What is it and why is it killing conversions?
You're right, it sounds technical, but it's profoundly human. Think about it. Today's audiences, and that includes you listening right now, we expect content tailored to our specific needs. Just consider how many personalized ads you see, or product recommendations, or even the news feeds on social media or Netflix. Our digital lives are increasingly customized.
True. Everything feels tailored.
Right. Yet, as the source points out, most marketing videos still cling to this rather traditional one-size-fits-all approach. They create this generic message, hoping it'll appeal broadly, but the reality is, it often ends up resonating deeply with, well, with no one.
Spreading itself too thin.
Exactly. And the research cited is pretty compelling. It indicates that personalized videos can boost conversion rates by a really significant margin. We're talking up to 20%. The psychological impact here is huge. When viewers don't immediately recognize that the video is addressing their specific situation, their problem, their unique goal, they just bounce.
Click.
Gone. And often within those first critical seconds we keep talking about, it's like being in a crowded room. Someone shouts, "Hey, you probably ignore it. But if they shout your name, you instantly turn your head. That immediate self-identification, that feeling of, oh, this is for me, is just crucial for cutting through the noise online.
That's a really powerful analogy. It perfectly captures that feeling of seeing an ad and thinking, nope, definitely not for me, versus one that just instantly clicks because it speaks directly to a problem you didn't even realize you had, or one you're actively trying to solve right now. That rapid self-identification, it's not just a nice to have anymore, is it? It feels like it's becoming non-negotiable for actually capturing attention.
Absolutely.
If I'm, say, a busy working parent looking for a specific type of scheduling software, a video that kicks off with, "Are you struggling to juggle family appointments and work deadlines?" is going to grab me instantly, way more than something generic like, "Welcome to the future of scheduling."
Night and day difference in impact.
Okay, the second reason videos fail: weak first impressions. This one feels pretty intuitive, but what does our source say about how videos specifically fall short here? What does a weak first impression look like in practice for video?
Well, think of your video's opening sequence, and just as importantly, its thumbnail, as your digital storefront window. Imagine walking down a street. You pass a store with a cluttered, uninviting window display that gives you zero clue what they even sell. You'll likely walk right past. Compare that to a window that's clean, clear, and instantly showcases something appealing and relevant to you. You're much more likely to stop, maybe even go inside. In the digital world, if that thumbnail and opening don't immediately signal value and relevance, people just scroll right past.
Without a second thought.
Exactly. The issue often arises when videos start with, say, lengthy branding sequences, those 5-10 second logo animations,
Ugh.
or slow-building introductory music, or these really generic welcomes like, "Hi, everyone, thanks for watching."
Yeah.
These aren't just slightly annoying. They actively waste those incredibly precious opening seconds when viewer attention is at its absolute peak.
Yeah.
You're essentially asking someone to wait patiently for the good stuff, to defer their gratification, when they literally have thousands of other content options just a swipe or a click away. The cost of wasting even 1 second early on is just astronomical in terms of lost viewership.
It's so true. I mean, in real-world interactions, we make these instant judgments about people based on their first impression, right? It's how we're wired.
Subconscious, yeah.
And the same applies to video. Viewers are making this split-second assessment. Is this worth my time? Does this hold a promise of value for me? And that critical decision is often made before the actual meat of the video, the core content, even really begins. It's a cognitive shortcut they've developed just to survive the information deluge.
Okay, so let's say you nail the first impression, you grab their attention. There's still hurdle number 3, conversion path friction. Now, this sounds like hitting a series of unexpected speed bumps on the road to getting that conversion, slowing things down, maybe even derailing the whole journey.
Exactly right. Even if viewers do watch your video and they stay engaged past those first crucial seconds, if the path to actually converting, taking that action you want them to take, is unclear or confusing or just feels like too much effort, all that momentum you've painstakingly built just evaporates.
Like hitting a dead end. Precisely. Think of it like that journey analogy again. You've successfully got the viewer in your car, they're enjoying the ride, the scenery is great, but then the road signs became confusing, there are unexpected detours, or maybe the road just suddenly stops with no clear way forward. This friction shows up in a few ways. It could be missing, or really ambiguous calls to action CTAs.
Like just saying, click here without a clear button.
Yeah, or just vaguely saying, learn more, without making it visually obvious where to click or how to proceed easily. It also includes delaying key information, making them watch much longer than necessary just to get the answer or solution they came for. You're making them work too hard. And critically, there are often these jarring disconnects between the video content itself and the landing page experience they're sent to. If the video promises X, but the landing page talks about Y or looks completely dissonant or makes them fill out a huge form, it just creates this jarring, trust-eroding experience.
Right, breaks the flow.
Totally. All these things create friction, and friction kills conversion momentum because, fundamentally, our brains are always looking for the path of least resistance.
That really resonates when you think about how we consume digital stuff today. We've all become conditioned to expect these super smooth, frictionless experiences, haven't we?
Absolutely.
Whether we're ordering food on an app, buying something online, signing up for a free trial, if there's any unnecessary step, any moment of confusion, even a tiny delay loading,
You're out.
yeah, you're gone. It's the difference between a beautifully designed e-commerce site where checkout is just effortless, totally intuitive, and one where you have to click through 5 different pages, re-enter your credit card details 3 times, and then hunt around for the tiny submit button.
That friction is a silent killer of sales, of signups, of whatever your goal is.
Okay, next on the list of conversion killers, distribution mismatch. This feels like that classic square peg, round hole problem, right? Like you've made great content, but you're putting it in completely the wrong place or format.
Precisely. It boils down to a fundamental misunderstanding, or maybe just ignoring, of platform-specific consumption habits. Different platforms, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, they all demand fundamentally different approaches and video formats.
They're not interchangeable.
Not at all. A video that's meticulously optimized for YouTube, maybe it's longer form, horizontal aspect ratio, relies heavily on SEO for discovery. That same video could completely bomb if you just upload it straight to TikTok or Instagram Reels.
Why is that?
Because those platforms thrive on short, punchy, vertically oriented clips. Think rapid edits. Often sound on viewing is the default. Maybe text overlays are crucial. A 45-minute webinar recording, no matter how brilliant the content, is just going to be scrolled past instantly on TikTok. It's completely out of context.
Yeah.
So many businesses, they create genuinely excellent content, but then they distribute it indiscriminately. They put it everywhere without adapting it, meaning it's structurally disadvantaged right from the start on certain platforms. It's not optimized for how users on that specific platform expect to consume video. And that includes everything from length to orientation to sound design, even how you use captions or text.
That makes so much sense when you put it like that. You wouldn't expect, I don't know, a feature-length documentary film to suddenly work well if you just chopped it into 15-second chunks for Instagram Reels, would you?
Of course not.
Or vice versa.
Sure.
The core message might be fantastic, the story compelling, but it needs to be adapted. It needs to be reshaped for where it's going to be seen, and critically, how users on that platform actually behave and what they expect. You really can't just upload the same MP4 file everywhere and cross your fingers hoping for the best across the board. It requires meeting the audience where they are, on their terms, in their preferred format. Okay, finally, the fifth reason, and this one feels perhaps the most critical for actually getting better over time. Lack of testing and optimization. Our business is really just like launching videos and then forgetting about them. Just setting and forgetting.
Unfortunately, yes. It happens far, far too often. There's this pervasive launch and leave mentality when it comes to video marketing. Most video content gets published, and then it's just left there, unchanged, even when the analytics are screaming that it's underperforming badly.
Which seems crazy.
It is. It's not just inefficient. It's a massive missed opportunity for learning and improvement. Without doing systematic A/B testing where you actually create multiple versions of a key element, maybe testing 2 different thumbnails or 2 different opening hooks or 2 different CTAs against each other to see which one actually performs better with real viewers. Without that, videos just continue to underperform, and there's no clear data-driven path to making them better. It really raises a fundamental question for any business using video. How can you possibly improve your results if you don't actually know what's working, what's failing, and crucially, why it's failing?
You're just guessing.
Exactly. It's like that chef analogy again. Baking a cake, it falls flat, and then just serving the flat cake anyway without ever trying to figure out if it was the oven temperature, the ingredients, the mixing technique. You just keep serving flat cakes. It's neglecting one of the most powerful tools we have as digital marketers, data and iteration.
It really underscores the need for a genuinely, scientific approach to marketing, doesn't it? Moving beyond just relying on creative intuition or gut feelings and actually using data to inform our decisions, to drive continuous improvement. It's about becoming a bit of a detective, constantly analyzing the clues, forming hypotheses, testing them, and then refining your approach based on what the evidence tells you. Okay, so we've thoroughly diagnosed the problems. And it's clear these are pretty systemic issues, not just random flukes. They stem from misunderstanding viewer behavior. Now, finally, for the really good news, our sources introduce something incredibly powerful, something called the 10-second fix. Now, this sounds intriguing, maybe like a magic bullet, or at least a really powerful shortcut to achieving dramatically better video performance. What exactly is it, and why is it supposed to be so effective?
Well, the fantastic news is that tackling these deep-seated problems we've just discussed doesn't necessarily require a complete ground-up overhaul of your entire video strategy. You don't have to throw everything out and start producing entirely new content from scratch, which is often daunting and expensive. Mixed Media Ventures, through their extensive research, and remember they've analyzed thousands of video campaigns, they identified this highly focused, targeted approach that can dramatically improve conversion rates.
Okay.
And the reason it works so well is because it aligns directly with how the human brain actually processes information and makes those split-second decisions in today's digital environments. It's not just about making small production freaks. It's about strategically leveraging deep-seated viewer psychology. It's about being incredibly smart and targeted with the video assets you already have, making them work much harder and more efficiently for you.
And the promise attached to it is quite bold, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
The source claims it can often double or triple video conversion rates without changing anything else about your content. I mean, getting that kind of uplift, that sort of performance jump, just from tweaking existing material, it sounds almost too good to be true. It makes me really curious about the underlying mechanism. How can such small changes have such a big impact?
It is a bold claim, no doubt about it, but it's reportedly backed by demonstrable results from their testing. The power lies in optimizing just three critical elements. Think of these as the key levers that, when you pull them correctly, leverage viewer psychology for maximum immediate impact.
Okay, just three things.
Just three core things. The idea is that by focusing your efforts laser-like on these precise, pivotal moments in the viewer's journey, specifically the very beginning, you can capture their attention more effectively, you can validate their decision to click much faster, and you can build engagement much more reliably within those critical first seconds. And that focus directly leads to that dramatic improvement in conversion rates down the line. These aren't just minor cosmetic adjustments, they're strategic interventions aimed squarely at the most vulnerable points of the viewer's fragile attention span.
Okay, I'm hooked. Let's break down these three critical elements of the fix. This is where the actionable insights, the how-tos really start to unfold for everyone listening. What are they?
Okay, the first one is what they call the thumbnail revolution. This is all about creating thumbnails that don't just look nice, but actively telegraph immediate, specific value to the viewer before they even click play. The second element is the pattern interrupt open. This involves strategically restructuring your video's very first 10 seconds to immediately grab attention, disrupt their scrolling pattern, and hold on to it. And the third element combines two ideas: the early value promise and personalization at scale. This means making a specific, compelling offer or clearly showing an immediate benefit before that major audience drop-off point we talked about, and doing it in a way that's tailored to specific audience segments.
Okay, that gives us the roadmap. Thumbnail, opening, and early value with personalization. Now let's unpack these one by one, because this is where we get into the really practical application, the stuff our listeners can actually go and do. First up, the thumbnail revolution. Now, I have to admit, like probably many people, I always thought a thumbnail was just, a pretty picture, something you maybe pick from a frame of the video, slap it on at the end, almost as an afterthought.
Yeah, common approach.
But our source makes a very strong case. They say it's your first and sometimes only chance to communicate value. So what's the secret sauce here? How do we make our thumbnails work way harder for us beyond just looking aesthetically pleasing?
You've absolutely hit on a common misconception, and it costs businesses dearly. A thumbnail is so much more than just a static image. Think of it as a miniature, highly concentrated billboard. It's a visual promise to your potential viewer. It needs to instantly telegraph what problem you're solving, what benefit you're offering, and crucially, for whom this video is intended. David Ramirez, who's a prominent content strategist cited in the source, really emphasizes this. He says it should telegraph exactly what problem you're solving and for whom instantly. No ambiguity.
Instantly.
And according to Mixed Media Ventures' rigorous A/B testing across many campaigns, simply optimizing thumbnails alone, just changing that little picture, can improve click-through rates by an astonishing 25 to 40% in most cases.
25 to 40%.
Just from the thumbnail. Just from the thumbnail. That's a profoundly significant jump for one small visual element that takes, let's be honest, relatively very little time and effort to create compared to producing the entire video itself. It's often the single highest ROI activity you can possibly undertake in video marketing.
Wow, that's a massive return for what seems like a relatively small change. So it's not just about looking professional. It's about communicating specific value immediately and telegraphing the video's core purpose. Could you maybe give us a really concrete example, something that illustrates this transformation from a generic thumbnail to a truly optimized one? Let's stick with that coffee maker idea.
Okay, perfect example. So imagine the generic thumbnail for a new coffee maker video. It's probably just a sleek, professional product shot of the machine itself, maybe sitting nicely on a clean kitchen counter.
Right, standard stuff.
Looks nice, professional, but it tells you absolutely nothing beyond this is a coffee maker. It doesn't hint at why you should care about this coffee maker. Now, contrast that with a strategically optimized thumbnail using the principles we're talking about. This optimized version might feature, say, a split-screen visual. On one side, you see a slightly stressed-looking person, maybe looking groggy, waiting impatiently by their old, slow, messy coffee machine. That's the before, the pain point. On the other side, you see the same person, now looking bright, happy, maybe even beaming, comfortably sipping delicious-looking coffee that they clearly just made quickly and easily using the new machine. That's the after, the transformation.
Oh, the contrast.
Exactly. And critically, overlaid on this visual is bold, clear text. Maybe something like, brew delicious coffee 3x faster, or say goodbye to bland, bitter mornings. This after version, the optimized one, instantly communicates a tangible benefit, speed, better taste, and directly addresses a relatable pain point, slow mornings, bad coffee. It makes an immediate emotional connection and promises a specific solution. That's what gets the click. And the sources, they actually break down why these effective thumbnails work based on psychological principles. What are the key components? First, and this is really crucial, include a clear human face showing an emotional expression that's relevant to your message. Humans are just hardwired to notice faces instantly and read emotions. It builds subconscious trust, curiosity, or empathy. A relatable face acts like a shortcut to engagement, signaling, hey, this is for you, a fellow human dealing with this.
Makes it relatable.
Totally. Second, use a concise, impactful text overlay. And this text needs to specifically address your target audience's primary goal or their main pain point. This is vital for immediate clarity. Don't make them guess what the video is about. Remember, people scan online. They don't read essays on thumbnails. The text must be instantly digestible, like 3 to 5 words max. Third, employ high contrast colors. Think about how crowded digital feeds are, YouTube recommendations, social media scrolls. Your thumbnail needs to visually pop out from that clutter. Subtle, muted, artistic color palettes often just blend in and get completely lost. High contrast elements like bright text on a dark background or vibrant foreground elements against a slightly blurred background, or even bold outlines, they simply demand attention from our visual system. Gotta stand out. And finally, try to incorporate visual elements that create a sense of curiosity or tension that can only really be resolved by actually watching the video. This could be an unexpected image, maybe a partial view of a surprising result, you won't believe what happened next, a graph showing a dramatic spike, or anything that makes the viewer pause and think, wait, what's going on there? I kind of need to find out the story behind this. Each of these components works together. They contribute to immediate comprehension, a strong emotional connection, and ultimately they compel that crucial click much more effectively than just a pretty picture. It's about maximizing every single pixel for persuasive purpose.
Okay, so the thumbnail revolution gets them to click. Fantastic. But then, as you said, the first 10 seconds are absolutely critical for keeping them hooked. This is where so many videos lose that horrifying 45% of viewers. Our source talks about the need to immediately validate the viewer's decision to click and compel them to keep watching. How do we actually achieve that? What's the formula, the structure for those crucial first few seconds?
You're right, that 45% drop-off is just brutal, and it really underscores how incredibly valuable those first 10 seconds are. This is the moment when viewer attention is physiologically at its absolute peak, and therefore it's your most valuable real estate. The core strategy here is to completely abandon those traditional slow-building openings we talked about. You need to go straight for immediate value signaling and a direct address to the viewer's needs or curiosity. James Chen, who's cited as a video conversion expert, states it pretty unequivocally. Businesses routinely waste these precious seconds on, well, frankly, self-indulgent stuff. Branding sequences, long title cards, generic welcomes.
Hi, I'm Bob from Acme Corp.
Exactly. Those are effectively dead seconds when you're in a desperate fight for every fraction of viewer retention. You absolutely have to hit them with impact and relevance right out of the gate. You need to instantly demonstrate that their click was justified, that they're in the right place, and that even more value is coming if they just stick around for a few more moments.
So, what's the effective formula then? It sounds like it needs to be a highly structured approach, not just hoping you say something interesting quickly. Almost like building a tiny, compelling narrative arc within those first 10 seconds.
It absolutely is a structured approach, and it's deliberately designed to align with how human attention and decision-making actually work in fast-paced environments. The formula, according to the source, breaks down into 3 crucial rapid-fire segments, all happening within that first 10-second window.
Okay, first segment. Seconds 0 to 3. In these first 3 seconds, you need a strong pattern interrupt combined with immediate audience identification.
Pattern interrupt.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds intriguing again. Like something out of, I don't know, a magic trick or maybe neuro-linguistic programming. What does it actually mean in the context of a marketing video? And how does it work on a viewer psychologically? It's precisely about disrupting the viewer's passive state. Whether they're passively scrolling through a feed or just clicked over from another video, their brain is often in a kind of low engagement mode. Our brains are naturally wired to detect novelty, change, anything unexpected that stands out from the predictable background noise. A pattern interrupt isn't just like a loud noise or a flashing light, though it could be visual. It's a deliberate, calculated disruption of their current mental state or expectations.
Okay.
The goal is to create a compelling question or present a surprising statistic or show an unexpected visual scenario that creates a bit of mental tension, what psychologists sometimes call a curiosity gap. This gap makes the brain want resolution, it wants an answer.
Makes them lean in.
Exactly. It immediately grabs their attention, it jolts them out of that passive consumption mode, and crucially, it signals intense relevance very quickly. It makes them think, wait, what was that? Or, that's weird. Or maybe, wow, this is definitely about me. I need to know the answer to that question. It essentially activates their problem-solving or information-seeking circuits. Okay, then immediately following that, from roughly seconds 3 to 7, once you've successfully snagged their attention with that interrupt, you deliver a very specific promise of value or transformation.
Right, so you've jolted them awake, you've got their attention.
Right.
What exactly do you promise them in that very narrow 4-second window? It has to be quick.
Super quick and super clear. You need to articulate the tangible benefit or the specific solution they will gain by continuing to watch this video. And this can't be a vague generic statement like, our product is really great or learn valuable tips. No. It has to be a specific, ideally measurable outcome or a direct answer to the problem or question you just raised in the pattern interrupt.
Got it.
This promise directly reinforces the initial interest that was ignited by that pattern interrupt. If your interrupt was a question about, say, wasting time on manual spreadsheets, here's where you explicitly promise, in the next 5 minutes, I'll show you how to automate that entire process and save 3 hours a week. It's the immediate payoff, the justification for their continued attention. And finally, rounding out the first 10 seconds, from roughly seconds 7 to 10, you provide a very concise preview of what's coming next in the video, along with stating an immediate benefit for them continuing to watch.
Okay, so essentially like a mini super fast trailer for the rest of the video, giving them a really compelling reason to stick around just a little bit longer beyond that initial hook.
Exactly like a mini trailer. This final segment within the first 10 seconds provides a clear, compelling reason why they should invest more of their precious time and stick around for the main body of the video. It should ideally offer a tangible, immediate benefit that will be revealed shortly if they continue watching. It's like saying, and if you stay with us for just the next few minutes, we're going to show you the exact 3 steps to implement this yourself so you can achieve that transformation starting today. You're building anticipation, you're justifying their continued investment of time, and you're setting a clear expectation for the valuable content that's about to follow. It creates this continuous loop of intrigue, promise, and anticipated reward that keeps them engaged past that critical drop-off point.
Could you give us maybe a few more concrete examples of what these effective pattern interrupts actually look like or sound like? How do they really land and grab that initial attention?
Absolutely. There are several effective types. One powerful way is to directly challenge conventional wisdom or a common assumption. You could start with a bold, maybe slightly controversial statement like, everything you thought you knew about saving for retirement is actually wrong. Whoa! That immediately creates cognitive dissonance and makes the viewer want to know why. What's the secret?
Yeah, that would hook me.
Right. Another effective interrupt is using surprising, maybe even counterintuitive statistics that contradict what people generally expect. For example, did you know that 90% of small businesses are making this one critical mistake with their social media, and it's costing them thousands each month? The specificity makes it compelling. Provocative questions that speak directly to a deep, often unvoiced pain point are also highly effective. Think, are you genuinely tired of losing hours every single week to mind-numbing manual data entry, feeling constantly overwhelmed and unproductive? It hits a nerve.
Very direct.
Very direct. Or perhaps the most immediate and visceral type of interrupt is a purely visual one. Quick, startling before and after shots, a super sped-up demonstration of a complex problem being solved in mere seconds by your software, a visual that immediately showcases a dramatic result. The key across all these is to be unexpected, highly relevant to your target audience, and to instantly create that desire for resolution or more information.
I can absolutely see how these different approaches apply across vastly different types of content and industries. For an educational video, challenging a common misconception in your field seems powerful. For a B2B software demo, showing that stunning end result, the after state, right at the very beginning, instead of burying it 5 minutes in after a lengthy explanation. That makes total sense.
Front load the value.
Exactly. It's about radically front-loading the single most compelling, most valuable, or maybe the most surprising aspect of your entire video. Don't save the best for last, because last is the part most viewers will have already tuned out by. Put it right up front where it has the maximum chance of impact. Okay, let's move to the third element. We talked earlier about the personalization gap being a major problem, that one-size-fits-all approach falling flat. Now, the 10-second fix offers what sounds like a really brilliant and potentially efficient solution. Implement personalization at scale. How do we actually do that efficiently? Because it sounds like it could mean creating tons of entirely new videos for every single audience segment, which feels like an enormous amount of work.
This is really where the at-scale part of this solution becomes quite ingenious and practical. The third component of the 10-second fix involves creating multiple distinct versions of just your video openings, those crucial first 10 seconds, and maybe the corresponding thumbnails. And these variations are specifically designed and scripted to speak directly to the unique needs, pain points, or goals of different audience segments you're trying to reach.
Just the openings and thumbnails.
Primarily, yes. The critical efficiency gain here is that the vast majority, often like 90–95%, of the rest of the video content, the main demo, the core explanation, the interview, can remain largely, if not completely, identical across all versions. You're not reshooting the entire product demonstration 5 times. You're not re-recording a full tutorial for each industry. You're just strategically tweaking those first few seconds and the visual entry point, the thumbnail, to create that deep, immediate personal connection with specific viewer groups. This allows you to achieve the powerful benefits of personalization, that feeling of, this is for me, without incurring a massive, prohibitive production overhead for each tailored version. It's about achieving surgical precision at the most critical point for maximum impact with minimum extra effort.
So, okay, instead of just one generic product video for, say, that project management software we mentioned earlier, could you give me a little bit even more detailed, concrete example of how this personalization would work across maybe 3 different customer types for that single product?
Sure, let's flesh that out. Imagine you've got your core Pro Manager software demo video ready. Instead of just one version starting with a generic "Welcome to Pro Manager," you could create, say, 3 distinct opening thumbnail variations. Version 1 targets budget-conscious small business owners. The thumbnail might show a split screen. Messy spreadsheet versus clean Pro Manager dashboard with text like /project admin cost by 25%. The video opening, first 10 seconds, could immediately ask, are hidden project costs and wasted admin time eating into your small business profits? See how Pro Manager instantly identifies savings and boosts your bottom line. Pattern interrupt, ocean cost, pain point, promise. Version 2 targets time-pressed marketing managers juggling multiple campaigns. The thumbnail might feature a stressed manager versus a relaxed one looking at a clear campaign timeline text. Launch marketing campaigns 2x faster. The opening. Drowning in campaign deadlines and endless manual status updates. Watch how Pro Manager streamlines your entire marketing workflow in seconds, freeing up hours each week. Pattern interrupt, deadline update pain, promise, speed time saving. Version 3 targets quality-focused enterprise IT directors concerned with collaboration and security. Thumbnail. Maybe a graphic showing secure data flow within a collaborative team environment. Text. Seamless team collaboration, ironclad project security. Opening, ensuring secure, compliant collaboration across large, distributed project teams can be a nightmare. Discover how Pro Manager provides granular control and unparalleled data integrity for your enterprise projects. Pattern interrupt, security collaboration challenge, promise, control integrity.
And the rest of the video is the same.
Exactly. After those first 10–15 seconds, all 3 versions merge seamlessly into the identical core product demonstration, feature walkthrough, maybe customer testimonials. But that crucial entry point, that first impression, has been custom tailored to immediately resonate with the viewer's most pressing concern, their specific industry language, their primary motivation, or their biggest pain point. It makes them feel instantly understood and signals that this solution is specifically relevant to them.
That makes it incredibly clear just how powerful this approach could be. It feels much more targeted. But my immediate, maybe slightly cynical thought is, okay, but is this actually difficult to implement? Do I really need a whole dedicated production team constantly churning out slightly different intros for every campaign?
No.
It sounds like it could quickly become complex or overwhelming if you're not careful.
That's a fair question, but the great news is, not really. Not anymore. The beauty of this strategy is that modern video platforms and digital marketing tools are making this kind of personalization increasingly accessible and surprisingly efficient, even for smaller teams or businesses without huge budgets.
How?
Well, take YouTube, for example. It now allows you to easily A/B test different thumbnails automatically. You can upload multiple options, and YouTube will show them to different segments of your audience and tell you which one gets the best click-through rate. That's huge. Facebook, LinkedIn, and other social media advertising platforms, they offer incredibly granular custom audience targeting. You can literally create different ad sets showing slightly different video variations with those tailored openings to specific demographics, job titles, interest groups, website visitors, or even lookalike audiences based on your existing customers.
So you show the right intro to the right person.
Precisely. And think about email marketing platforms. If you have subscriber data, maybe you know their industry, their job role, or products they've shown interest in before you can segment your list and send emails featuring the video version with the opening that's most relevant to that specific segment. And maybe most excitingly, we're seeing the rise of dynamic video platforms. These tools can actually personalize certain content elements within a video automatically in real time based on viewer data. They could swap out a text overlay with the viewer's company name, or insert a location-specific offer, or change a small visual element.
Wow, okay.
So the technology is rapidly catching up to and enabling this strategy. It's making personalization at scale highly feasible and manageable for businesses of almost all sizes now.
That dramatically lowers the barrier to entry, doesn't it? Which is fantastic news for anyone listening who thought this sounded great, but maybe too complex. It means the potential return on investment for this personalization approach becomes much more appealing. You're leveraging existing technology, often features already built into the platforms you use, to maximize the impact of your existing video content without necessarily incurring huge additional production costs or needing a massive dedicated video team just to create slightly different intros. It really is about working smarter, not just harder, with the assets you already have. Okay, this all sounds fantastic in theory. The principles make logical sense. The technology seems to be there. But, the proof is in the pudding, as they say. Does it actually work in the real world? Our source provides a particularly compelling case study that really brings the whole 10-second fix concept vividly to life. Tell us about this B2B software company and the struggle they were facing.
Right. This is where the rubber meets the road. This specific client of Mixed Media Ventures was a B2B software company, and they were struggling badly with a key product demonstration video. Now, interestingly, the video itself had very high production value. It was professionally shot, had excellent voiceover talent, really slick motion graphics. It looked great.
Ticked all the boxes visually.
Exactly. But despite looking good, it had a truly dismal conversion rate, just 0.8%. Barely anyone who watched it was taking the desired next step, whether that was signing up for a free trial, downloading a demo, or requesting a sales call. It looked professional, but it just wasn't compelling people to act.
Ouch. 0.8% is rough after investing in high production value.
It's heartbreaking. And when they analyzed the original video, the problems became clear. It started with a lengthy, very traditional 12-second company introduction sequence, complete with a slow logo animation. Remember what we said earlier about those attention-killing, wasted opening seconds?
Yep, dead time.
Dead time. Then, after that intro, it slowly transitioned into explaining the product benefits. The benefits themselves were valid, but it just took way too long to get to the point. And the thumbnail, it was just a static, completely uninspiring screenshot of their software interface. No text overlay, no human element, no clear benefit highlighted. It basically provided zero immediate value or hook to entice a click. It was just a picture of software.
Okay, so given that pretty bleak baseline, great-looking video, terrible results, what exactly did Mixed Media Ventures do? How did they systematically apply those three core elements in the 10-second fix to try and turn this sinking ship around? What was the strategic thinking behind each change they made?
Okay, they applied the three elements with real surgical precision, focusing only on those front-end components. First, the new thumbnail. They completely scrapped the boring interface screenshot. Instead, they created a really powerful, visually arresting split-screen image. On the left side, they showed a depiction of a slightly frustrated, overwhelmed user sitting at a desk, maybe surrounded by messy paperwork or confusing charts symbolizing the chaos the software aimed to solve. Then, on the right side, they contrasted this sharply with a visual of a satisfied, calm user confidently interacting with a clean, organized, streamlined dashboard within the software representing the control and order it brings.
Before and after, visually.
Exactly, the transformation visualized. And critically, overlaid on this compelling visual was bold, benefit-driven text that read, "From chaos to control in 15 minutes." This instantly telegraphed the core problem, chaos, the solution, control, and even implied a quick timeline for achieving relief, 15 minutes, making it incredibly relevant and click-worthy for their target audience experiencing that chaos. Second, The new opening sequence, they completely cut that lengthy 12-second company introduction and the slow logo animation. Gone. The new version started immediately, right at second 0, with a powerful pattern interrupt combined with a specific value promise. The audio kicked in instantly with a direct, targeted question. If you're losing 3+ hours every single week to tedious manual reporting, this automation system eliminates that today.
Specific and quantifiable pain point.
Precisely. It immediately identified with the viewer's likely pain. And this was immediately followed, within the next few seconds, by a rapid, dynamic 5-second screen recording demonstration showing that specific time-saving feature in action. They were showing, not just telling, the solution and delivering that early value promise almost instantly. Viewers saw the relief, the solution in action, before they could even really think about clicking away. And third, personalization. They understood that even within their B2B target market, different industries using their software likely had slightly different priorities and very specific pain points related to their workflows. So they created 3 distinct versions of just this modified opening sequence, the first 10-15 seconds. Each version targeted a different key industry vertical. For example, a potential client in the manufacturing sector would see examples and hear pain points specifically related to inventory management or supply chain bottlenecks right in those opening seconds. A client in the finance sector would see examples relevant to financial reporting accuracy or budget management challenges.
Tailored language and examples.
Exactly. But crucially, the core product demo, the main body of the video explaining the features and overall benefits, remained exactly the same after those first crucial personalized seconds. This made it highly efficient to implement, but dramatically increased the feeling of relevance for each viewer segment right from the start.
That's incredibly detailed and strategic. Okay, the moment of truth. What was the payoff? What were the actual measurable results of making these focused changes, which, again, seem relatively small in scope compared to redoing the whole video, yet clearly profound in their strategic impact?
The results, according to the case study, were nothing short of dramatic. It really validated the whole 10-second fix approach. First, the click-through rate, CPR, remember, that's how many people actually clicked on the video after seeing the new thumbnail in places like search results or ads, that increased by an astounding 68%.
Wow, just from the thumbnail change mostly.
Primarily, yes. It shows how much more effective that new thumbnail was at actually grabbing attention and earning the click, compared to the old, boring screenshot. Second, viewer retention past the 30-second mark, which is a critical indicator of whether people are engaging beyond the initial hook, that improved by 43%.
So significantly more people were actually watching the main content.
Exactly. They weren't just clicking and bouncing, they were sticking around because the opening validated their click and promised value. But perhaps most impressively, the ultimate goal, the conversion rate, the percentage of viewers who actually took the desired action, like signing up for the demo, jumped from that abysmal 0.8% baseline to a remarkable 3.4%.
Whoa! From 0.8 to 3.4, that's huge.
It's massive. That represents a 325% improvement in the video's conversion performance. And consequently, the overall return on investment, ROI, they were getting from this existing video asset, purely by optimizing these front-end elements using the 10-second fix principles, improved by over 400%.
That is truly incredible. And just to reiterate the key point here, all of this massive uplift, was achieved, as you emphasized earlier, without needing to shoot any significant new footage for the main body of the video. They didn't have to hire new actors, scout new locations, spend days and days in post-production re-editing the core content.
Precisely. That's the power of this focused approach. It was almost entirely about strategically restructuring that crucial opening sequence, creating those new psychologically compelling thumbnails, and implementing some basic, efficient personalization at the entry point. It wasn't about creating more content, which is so often the default reaction businesses have when something isn't working. Let's make another video. Instead, it was about making the existing content work dramatically harder and smarter by aligning it perfectly with how modern viewers actually behave and make decisions online. And this really raises an important question, maybe a challenge for you, the listener. Imagine the potential impact this could have on your own existing video content. Think about those videos you've already created, maybe poured resources into, that just aren't performing as well as you'd hoped. What if a few strategic tweaks following these exact principles could unlock similar dramatic results for you? What if you could transform those underperforming assets into powerful conversion engines without starting from scratch? It's a really compelling thought, isn't it?
Absolutely. Okay, so for listeners who are now thoroughly convinced, totally fired up, and ready to take action, ready to apply this 10-second fix concept to their own videos, where do they start? What's the practical roadmap, the step-by-step process they should follow?
Okay, the very first step, the absolute non-negotiable starting point before you even think about making any changes, is to establish crystal clear baselines for your current videos. You need to know precisely where you're starting from, why, so you can accurately measure and quantify any improvements you make later on. Otherwise, you're just guessing if things got better.
Right, need that benchmark.
Exactly. So start by digging into your existing video analytics data. Look at your current click-through rate, CTR, for each key video. How many people are actually clicking your thumbnail when they encounter it? Your viewer retention rates. Pay close attention to the drop-off points, especially at the 10-second, 30-second, and maybe the 60-second marks. Where exactly are people leaving? And how steep is the drop? Your conversion rate. What percentage of the people who do watch are actually taking the desired action you want them to take? For example, clicking a link, filling out a form, making a purchase. And also look at other engagement metrics like average view duration, likes, comments, shares. These provide context. These initial benchmarks are not just, good practice. They are the absolute foundation upon which all your future optimization efforts will be built and measured. Without them, you're essentially flying blind, completely unable to definitively prove the impact of your work or justify further investment.
Yeah, establishing those benchmarks sounds absolutely crucial for measuring improvement later. Without that starting point, like you said, you're just guessing, maybe feeling like things are better, but you can't actually prove it.
Exactly. Data removes the guesswork. It provides concrete, measurable evidence to validate your efforts and, importantly, demonstrate the return on investment of these optimization activities.
Okay, so step one, get the baseline data. Once I have that, how do I use it to know where the problem is most acute? How do I pinpoint the specific areas in my videos that are screaming out for the 10-second fix the most, rather than just applying changes randomly?
This is where your video analytics platform becomes your most valuable diagnostic tool. You need to really dive into the detailed data, especially the viewer retention graphs. Most platforms provide second-by-second retention data, often visualized as a curve, showing the percentage of viewers remaining at each point in the video. Look carefully at the shape of that curve for clues. Are you seeing sharp, steep, early drop-offs, particularly within those first 10 to 15 seconds? If that curve plunges right at the beginning, that's a huge red flag. It's a clear, undeniable indicator that you have significant problems with either your video's thumbnail, it set the wrong expectation, or, more likely, its opening sequence. It failed to hook them. This is prime territory for the 10-second fix. Are you seeing more of a gradual, steady decline throughout the video? If the curve slopes downwards gently but consistently, it might suggest that while your opening was okay at hooking them initially, the main content itself may be too long, maybe it's unfocused, or perhaps it lacked sufficient mid-video engagement points, those pattern interrupts we'll talk more about. And finally, look closely for any sudden significant drops right before your main call to action points. If people are watching a good chunk of the video but then bail just before you ask them to do something, it indicates they might be losing interest towards the end, or perhaps the motivation or clarity to proceed isn't there. It points to potential friction in your conversion path design. This data-driven analysis takes all the guesswork out of it. The retention curve literally tells you where your biggest problems lie and where to focus your optimization efforts first for the maximum potential impact.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. Use the data to diagnose the specific weakness. So let's say I've analyzed the data and I see that sharp early drop-off. I know my opening or thumbnail is the issue. What's the very first fix to try? What's often considered the lowest hanging fruit that promises the quickest potential wins?
Generally, the lowest hanging fruit and often the single most impactful initial change you can test is to create and rigorously test new thumbnails. So design maybe 2 or 3 alternative thumbnails for your key underperforming videos. And make sure you design them rigorously following those principles we discussed earlier. Incorporate clear human faces showing relevant emotion. Use compelling and very concise text overlays, highlighting the core benefit or pain point. Employ high contrast colors to make them visually pop in crowded feeds. And try to build in some element of visual curiosity or tension.
And then test them.
Absolutely test them. Don't just guess which one looks best to you. Many platforms, as we mentioned, YouTube, Facebook ads, various testing tools allow for relatively easy A/B testing of thumbnails. This is vital. It lets you gather real-world, objective data on which thumbnail actually performs best with your specific audience in terms of getting clicks. You're letting your audience's behavior, not your own opinion, tell you what works most effectively.
Right, let the data decide. Okay, so thumbnails first. But for those videos with those really high early drop-offs, the problem might be deeper than just the thumbnail. It might be the opening sequence itself. What about actually restructuring that critical initial 10-second sequence?
Yes, if the data points strongly to a problem within the first 10-15 seconds, that steep drop-off, then you absolutely must consider re-editing the opening sequence itself. The goal is to lead immediately, right from second zero, with your strongest value proposition, the most compelling hook, or the direct solution to the viewer's most pressing pain point. Practically, this might involve adding bold, easily legible text overlays right at the beginning to reinforce those key messages and benefits in those first few seconds, literally spelling out the value proposition visually as well as audibly. And crucially, you have to be ruthless here. You absolutely must cut any lengthy, unnecessary introductions, any repetitive or slow logo animations, any generic welcome messages, or any slow-building atmospheric music. These are attention killers online.
Cut the fluff.
Cut all the fluff from the beginning. Instead, lead immediately with that powerful pattern interrupt we dissected earlier, something that instantly hooks the viewer, identifies with their need or question, and creates that curiosity gap that makes them need to keep watching. Every single second in that opening is prime real estate. Don't waste any of it.
And then there's the personalization aspect. Getting personal with the content, applying that targeted approach. How do we implement that efficiently, especially if we have multiple audience segments, without letting it completely burn through all our time and resources?
You don't need to go overboard initially. Even simple, strategic personalization can significantly impact your results and provide a substantial boost to those conversion rates. Start relatively small. Maybe just create alternate versions of your opening sequence, those first 10 seconds, and the corresponding thumbnail, specifically addressing your top 2 or 3 distinct audience segments. Remember, the main body of the video can likely stay exactly the same. Also, think about customizing thumbnails and video titles specifically for different distribution channels where the same core video might appear. For instance, you might use a punchier, more question-based title and thumbnail for a social media ad campaign versus a more descriptive, keyword-rich title optimized for YouTube search discovery. You're tailoring the entry point to the context.
Makes sense.
And then, if your technology stack and resources allow for it down the line, you can explore adding more advanced dynamic elements like automatically inserting the viewer's first name or their company name into a text overlay within the video itself. While technically more complex, this creates an incredibly strong, immediate personal connection that can dramatically increase perceived relevance and subsequent engagement. But start simple.
So the core message treading through all of this seems to be that the key isn't just to fix it once, slap on a new thumbnail, tweak the intro, and then be done with it. It sounds like you're advocating for adopting a mindset of continuous optimization, right? An ongoing iterative process rather than a one-and-done solution.
Absolutely, 100%. That is perhaps the most important takeaway. The capstone of this entire 10-second fix methodology isn't the fix itself, but establishing a rigorous, disciplined, ongoing testing framework. You must consistently A/B test everything you can. Different thumbnail designs, different opening sequence variations, different calls to action, both wording and placement, different personalization approaches, and you must meticulously measure every single improvement or lack thereof against those baseline metrics, the ones you carefully established right at the very beginning of this process.
Close the loop.
Exactly. Implement the winning variations, the ones that show tangible, statistically significant improvements in your key metrics, CTR, retention, conversion. And crucially, continue optimizing. Never assume you've reached perfection. Why? Because viewer behavior evolves. Digital platforms constantly change their algorithms and user interfaces. Your competitors adapt. Your audience's needs and preferences might shift over time. There's always more to learn, more to refine. Critical thinking, data-driven iteration, and a willingness to challenge your own assumptions are absolutely essential for sustained success in a world drowning in information and characterized by constantly shifting attention spans. It truly is an iterative journey of continuous improvement, not a fixed destination you arrive at.
Okay, the 10-second fix sounds like an absolute game changer for that critical first hurdle, getting people past the initial drop-off and actually into our content. It transforms those early bounces into potentially engaged viewers. Fantastic. But what happens after that? Let's say you've successfully hooked them with a killer thumbnail and a pattern-interrupting opening. They're past the 15-second mark. How do you keep them engaged throughout the rest of the video, especially if it's a longer piece of content, like a detailed tutorial, a webinar recording, or a full product demonstration? How do you maintain that momentum?
That's a great question, because you're right, hooking them is only the first part of the battle. Once viewers make it past that crucial opening gauntlet, maintaining their momentum and attention is absolutely key. The digital environment, as we know, is incredibly distracting. People are constantly bombarded with notifications. They likely have multiple browser tabs open. Their phone might buzz. Their attention can wander very, very quickly.
Easily distracted.
Very easily. So you need to continuously earn and then re-earn their attention through the entire duration of the video. You can't just rely on the initial hook to carry them through. Our sources suggest a few tactics for this mid-video engagement. One key idea is implementing those pattern interrupts we talked about for the opening, but continuing to use them strategically maybe every 30 to 45 seconds or so throughout the video, just to regain and refocus wandering attention.
Mini resets.
Exactly, mini resets. This doesn't have to be something jarring or annoying. It could be a quick cut to a surprising statistic presented with dynamic text appearing on screen. It could be the introduction of a different speaker or expert voice for a segment. It could be a sudden shift from, say, a talking headshot to a detailed screen recording demonstration, or vice versa. Even a subtle but relevant sound effect can momentarily draw attention back to the screen. It's all about breaking up predictable visual or auditory rhythms and introducing small doses of novelty to re-engage the brain. Beyond those interrupts, there needs to be ongoing reinforcement of the core benefits and value proposition throughout the video, subtly reminding the viewer why they are watching, what problems being solved for them, what transformation they're moving towards. Keep connecting back to their initial motivation. And finally, you can strategically use curiosity loops to drive continued watching. This involves opening a question or teasing a piece of information early on that only gets fully answered or revealed later in the video. For example, we've shown you the problem, but the real secret to boosting your conversion by 50% is coming up right after this next section. It makes them want to stick around to get the payoff.
So it really is like needing these regular resets of attention throughout the viewing experience. Our brains, especially online, just aren't naturally built for long periods of sustained passive consumption, are they? Especially with all the digital stimuli constantly competing for our focus. You have to actively keep pulling them back in, almost like deploying mini hooks repeatedly throughout the entire length of the video.
Exactly. In today's environment, you simply cannot assume a linear, unwavering attention span from your viewers. It's unrealistic. You have to actively fight for their focus at regular intervals, acknowledging the cognitive load they're under and the inherent distractibility of online viewing. You need a micro-engagement strategy baked into the structure of your video, not just a strong start.
Okay, and finally, let's talk about the ultimate goal. Conversion. Once they're engaged, once they've actually stayed with your content, maybe through the middle or even towards the end, how do we optimize the call to action, the CTA, to ensure they actually take that next crucial step, whether that's making a purchase, signing up for a newsletter, downloading a resource, or booking that demo call? How do we nail the CTA?
This is where many videos, even engaging ones, still fall down. The biggest mistake most businesses make, as conversion optimization specialist Maria Rodriguez points out in our sources, is implicitly believing that viewers will naturally watch patiently all the way to the very end of the video, and then, and only then, will they be motivated to take action.
Which isn't realistic.
Not at all, based on the data.
Yeah.
In reality, you need to earn attention continuously, as we've said, and critically, you need to make it not just possible, but easy and obvious for them to convert at multiple strategic points throughout the video, not just pinning all your hopes on the final seconds.
Okay, so how do we optimize those CTAs effectively?
A few key tactics emerge from the sources. First, and this is critical, place your primary, most important CTA significantly before the 60% mark of your video's duration. Why? Because a huge portion of your audience, even those who are initially engaged, will never reach the absolute end of your video. You need to present your core call to action before a large segment of potentially interested viewers naturally drops off. Don't wait until the very end for the big ask. First, and this is critical. Second, use multiple consistent CTAs throughout longer content. This doesn't mean being annoying or overly salesy, but strategically placing reminders or opportunities to convert. This could be a clickable annotation or card popping up on screen at a relevant moment, a clear verbal prompt from the speaker. You can download the guide I just mentioned using the link below right now, or a persistent but unobtrusive text overlay or banner directing them. Consistency in the message and the destination is key. First, and this is critical. Third, make the next steps crystal clear and absolutely frictionless. Don't just use vague prompts like learn more or click here. Use strong, clear, benefit-driven action verbs like get your free template now, book your personalized demo, or start saving time today. And ensure the CTA isn't just a verbal suggestion. Make it a highly visible, easily clickable button, link, or element right there in or around the video player. Reduce the cognitive and physical effort required to convert to absolute zero. Don't make them hunt for the link or figure out what to do next. First, and this is critical. And finally, when it's appropriate and genuine, create a sense of urgency. You can do this with legitimate scarcity, only 50 spots left for the workshop, or time sensitivity. Offer ends Friday. Perhaps use an on-screen countdown timer if applicable. But this must be authentic. Using fake scarcity will backfire and erode trust very quickly. The overarching goal here is to make taking your desired action the easiest, the most obvious, and the most compelling next step for the viewer at the moments they are most likely to be receptive.
This connects so directly to core principles of good user experience, UX design, doesn't it? It's all about making it as easy, as clear, and as compelling as possible for the user to achieve their goal and your goal with the minimum possible friction, removing all cognitive load and practical obstacles from their path.
Absolutely. Think of it less like just pointing them vaguely towards a destination on a map and more like providing clear signage, smooth roads, and maybe even a helpful guide to lead them gently but firmly towards that destination. Every element of the CTA, the visual design, the placement, the timing, the clarity of the language, needs to work together to minimize effort and maximize their motivation to take that next step.
Wow. This has been an incredibly insightful deep dive. We've gone from understanding why our videos might be falling flat despite our best efforts to uncovering a really practical, actionable framework, the 10-second fix for fixing them without necessarily needing to reinvent the wheel or break the bank. As we wrap up, what are the absolute core, actionable takeaways you really want our listener to walk away with and remember from this whole discussion about the 10-second fix?
If you remember just 3 things, make it these pillars of the 10-second fix. First, revolutionize your thumbnails. Stop thinking of them as just pictures. Start creating thumbnails that act as powerful visual promises, instantly communicating specific value and relevance to your target viewer before they even click play. Second, radically restructure your video openings. Ditch the slow intros. Capture attention immediately with a strong pattern interrupt. Validate their click with a clear value promise, and directly identify with your viewers' needs or pain points, all within those critical first 10 seconds. Cut ruthlessly anything that wastes that precious initial attention. And third, implement basic but effective personalization, especially at the start. Speak directly to different audience segments through tailored openings and thumbnails, even if the rest of your video content remains the same. Make them feel seen and understood right away. These 3 elements, applied strategically, tested rigorously, and iterated upon, can genuinely unlock remarkable, often disproportionate positive results for your existing video content.
So when we synthesize all this knowledge, when we step back and look at the bigger picture, what does this all really mean for someone listening right now who genuinely wants to transform their video marketing results? Someone who wants to stop seeing crickets and start seeing real conversions and engagement from their videos?
What it really means is that the businesses, the creators, the organizations that truly succeed with video in today's environment aren't necessarily the ones with the biggest production budgets, the fanciest cameras, or the most elaborate motion graphics. Instead, they are the ones that fundamentally understand and then relentlessly optimize for actual human viewer behavior in the digital landscape we inhabit now.
It's about psychology as much as technology.
Absolutely. It's about being deeply strategic, rigorously data-driven, and intensely audience-centric in your approach. And this core principle, this need to optimize for real behavior, applies right across the board, whether you're in e-commerce showcasing physical products, B2B software demonstrating complex solutions, a professional service provider trying to build trust and authority, or an educator aiming for deep learning and understanding through video. It's fundamentally about shifting your mindset away from, here's the video I want to make, I hope they watch it, towards, how do people actually consume content online today, and how can I design my video entry point and experience to meet them instantly where they are, grab their attention, and guide them effectively towards the intended outcome. It's a shift from creator-centric thinking to truly audience-centric design.
The source material leaves us with a really powerful, succinct, closing thought. It states, the difference between a video that converts and one that doesn't often comes down to just 10 critical seconds. Make them count. And that powerful statement leaves us with a final provocative thought for you, our listener, to take away and perhaps mull over. If you could go back right now and revisit just one video that you've already created, maybe it's one you poured your heart and soul into, one you're proud of, but that's currently underperforming based on your analytics, if you could revisit that single video and apply just one of these core 10-second fix principles we've discussed today. Whether that's completely revamping its thumbnail to telegraph immediate value, or surgically injecting a bold pattern interrupt right into its opening seconds, or maybe adding just a touch of personalization to its intro to resonate more deeply with a key audience segment. Which one principle would you choose to apply to that specific video?
And more importantly, what dramatic change, what potential uplift in performance do you imagine that single focused change could bring not just to the video's metrics, but potentially to your broader business objectives? Think about it. The power to significantly improve your results might be closer and simpler than you think. Often it really does lie in making those first critical seconds count.
Thanks for listening to the Mixed Media Ventures podcast. To see the corresponding blog post, head over to www.mixedmediaventures.com now. Thanks again for dropping by, and see you next episode.